Hi everyone. Today video is on Angular application state management using NgRx store. So in this video we are going to use the latest version of NgRx, that is version 12. Okay. So NgRx store for state management. So what is NgRx state management? So NgRx store provides state management for creating maintainable explicit application through the use of single state and actions in order to express the state changes. Okay, so main purpose of ng store is to share the data between the components in the Angular application more fluid way. Okay, so with a single area array store to save our application data. Nothing but application data is nothing but data that is fetched from some external APIs or within the application. Some data can be stored in the state management. Okay, so that can be achieved using the NgRx. Okay, so in NgRx there are three main building blocks for constructing the store management. Those are actions, reducers, and selectors. So these are the three main components that are involved in constructing the state management using NgRx. So in detail about these each uh, building blocks can be explained in next steps. Okay, so this is the flow of using the NgRx store into our Angular application. Okay, so by seeing this picture, here you can see component. So component, here we can observe communicating with the API. So for data, so to display data into our application, component will fetch the data from the API. Okay. So here, if you observe, component is invoking the actions. Actions are one of the building blocks of the NgRx store management. Okay. So what this action means, these actions are listening for the component events. Okay. So what component will do? Component will invoke the action and passes the API response to that action. Okay. So if you come to the actions, actions are communicating with the reducers. So reducers are also one of the main building blocks of the NGRX store. So what is the purpose of reducers means? Reducers are like a pure functions. Okay. So what they will do, what they will do means they will simply uh, either store the data into the our store. Okay, our NGRX store. So reducers are invoked by our actions. Okay, so in the inside of the pure function of the reducer, that function will listens for the event raise of the action. Okay, so finally reducers are save the data into the store. Next, once the data is stored into the store, we need to access the data wherever we want in throughout our application, Angular applications. Okay, so to fetch the any kind of data or a piece of data or a slice of data or entire data from the store, we can be achieved using the selector. Okay, selectors are also one of the main building blocks of the store. Okay, so selectors are fetches the data from the store. These selectors are invoked from the components. Okay, this so this is the flow of our NGRX store. Okay, so here are the flow is explained in points. Let's see them. So Angular component triggers the API call and fetches the response data. Okay, Angular component triggers the API call and fetches the response data. And Angular component raises events through the actions, and component passes the API response to the action. Okay, next step. Components are raises the events like actions and passes the API response to the actions. Okay, and reducers are logical functions that are listened for the action changes. Reducers update the store based on action and the payload carried by the actions. Okay, So reduces listens for the change in the action. Okay, when our component invokes and passes some data or passes some data, these reducer can listen for the change. So on action receiving the payload, reducers what will do? They will extract the data from the actions and push them into the store or update them into the store. Okay. Selectors are consumed by the Angular components, and selectors serves the data from the store to the Angular components. Okay, so selectors are generally invoked by the components, and their main purpose is to retrieve the data from the store and serve it to the components. Okay, that is the a basic flow of NgRx store. Okay, now what we will do? We are going to do some sample application. Okay, in Angular by integrating the latest NgRx version 12. Okay, so let's jump into creating our sample application. So this is the ng command for creating our Angular application, that is ng space new space your project name. Okay, let me create my project, and our project is created, and I am using Angular 12, which is the latest version. Okay, so I am using the editor Visual Studio Code. Okay, so now in our demo, I am going to use one of the free external API for our demo, that is JSON placeholder type. Okay, this is one of the free REST API. So what I will do, I am going to bind this data, and what I will do, I am going to store this data into our store, NgRx store, and from the store, I will retrieve the data and I am going to render into my few components. Okay, so now what I will do, let me create our API response model. Okay, as a first step. So create a folder like gallery. Okay, so this response about images. So that's why I'm creating folder like gallery. Okay, and create a TS file like gallery dot model dot. Okay, okay, this is my response model. Okay, now let's install our NGRX store library. So go to ngrx.io, in that go to state and go for installation, where we can see the command. So copy that command and install into our application. Okay, seems like installed. Let's cross verify in package.json. In dependencies object, we should see, okay, NGRX store and version, that is the latest 12.2.0. Okay, okay, now installing the package is done. Okay, so I have mentioned these three are few main building blocks of NGRX, right? So to start with our demo, I want to create first actions. Okay, so what are actions? Okay, actions are one of the main building blocks of NGRX. Action express unique events that happens in our application, like user interaction with the page, external interaction by the network request, or the direct interaction with the device. Okay, so from these points we can understand action is an event that can be raised when the API is called, or a user clicked on something, or a user interested in something. That something is raised as an event through the action. Okay, so if you see the sample regarding the example about the actions, you can observe here create action that loads from NGRX store. So if you want to create an action, we should use the create action. So create action method will be two types. There is only with action name or with the payload. So if you see the second one, this action is only with the name. If you see the first example, that contains some input value also. Okay. So how to name the action? So naming an action is a simple string, but there is a standard. If you observe here in the square bracket, source and letter, space and event. So source is nothing but which thing got invoked this action. Okay, if you are calling something like API, like a dashboard API. So I can specify in the square brackets dashboard API. Okay, so here event means what kind of functionality for this action invoked. So I can say in the square brackets dashboard API. So in the space, I can say event name like uh, API success. That means action method invoked on success of API. Okay, like that we need to name. If you give any string, also it works, but the standard is like that. Okay, source and event. Okay, like a more descriptive way what that action meant for. Okay, so if you want to pass some data like response from the API into the actions, what we have to do means we need to use the props that loads from the NgRx store. Here you can see props and its type is anonymous object. And here you can pass the your input data like a object, anonymous object. Okay. So like this, we need to create the action. So let's jump into our project and create the action. Okay. My action is for I want to invoke once my component invoked the API and got the response, I want to push that response into the store. So first step to pass some data into the store, we need to raise the event, right? So for that, I want to create an action. Okay. So for passing the response data, I want to pass an action. So first what we will do, let's create a folder like store. Okay. Inside store, let me create like gallery.actions.ts. Okay. So here first let's import create action from the @NgRx store. Okay, create action. So export constant retrieved gallery means from the API we got some response, right? So here I can use like and I can name like a name of the API gallery API and event on success of the API. Okay, I will name like this. Okay, so I also want to pass the response data from the API success to this action method. So our API is a collection, right? Collection of gallery. So what I can do means I need to use the props to pass some data into the actions. Okay. So props and it should be a object and here I can specify the my payload. So I can name like all gallery. These names must be more clean because these properties will be next used in next levels or next main building blocks of the NgRx. Okay. So and its type is gallery model of array of method. Okay. So I have successfully created my action method. Okay. So after actions, next thing is reducers. Okay. So what are reducers? Reducers are pure functions in that they produce same output for a given input. So for reducers, pure function means definition of pure function in JavaScript means whatever we give input, it will return the same output. Means it won't change the existing object. Okay, means it will generate a new object and returns from the pure function. That kind reducer means. So they are without side effects, handle each state's transition. So this point will explain side effects means they won't change the existing object state. Okay, so each reducer functions latest actions dispatched and the current state and determines whether to return newly modified state or the original state. Okay, so here is the key point for the NgRx reducer. So each reducer function takes the latest action dispatched. So whenever the action event raised, reducers will listen for that. So based on the action type and its payload, reducer will decide whether it will have to give the existing state or okay or it need to create a new state with the input from the action method and returns. Okay, modify the state. So that thing can be carried out by the reducers. So if you observe here sample example, so to create a reducer, we need to use create reducer that loads from the NgRx store. Okay, so inside of the store, first parameter will be initial state. So initial state is nothing but we will assign some dummy data, some initial state, some empty state, so that whenever our application loads, if it is fetching something from our store, we will not get any errors like undefined data, something like that, because we will assign some empty data. Like if our state returns some collection, we will return some empty collection. That is initial state. So we can avoid the uh, issues. So that is the reason we need to maintain the initial state as a first parameter, and second parameters like after first parameter, every parameter will be a on. Okay, using on, we can register n number of action methods. See here, action one is registered. Okay, with the on function that loads from the NgRx store. So what it will do, whenever this action one is raised, it will automatically listen, reducer. So after that, what it will do, it will contains another input parameter like anonymous function. Okay, that is nothing but state, first parameter that anonymous function contains. So the state is automatically injected by the reducer or the NgRx store, okay, with the existing state. And second is the payload. So this parameter is nothing but the name of the property in this anonymous object. Okay, please keep that in mind. This object, nothing but this props object. Okay, in the actions. And based on our logic, we are going to create a new state or use the existing state itself. Okay, so that is the role of the reducer here. Okay, so now let's jump into our application and let's create a reducer for our action that we have already created in the previous step. So in the store, what I will do, gallery dot reducer dot ts. Okay, so import create reducer. Okay, and first let's create the initial state. Okay, so my initial state will be gallery array. That initial value is empty. Okay, next thing is constant. Okay, and create reducer. Okay, first parameter will be initial state. Okay, and second onwards I can register n number of on methods. So each on method should represent action. So I want to register this action into my reducer. Okay, so let's import gallery actions. Okay, and it will have a callback method like input parameter, first parameter is state. So that is default data will be injected into the this method by the framework itself, and next property will be the nothing but our action method property name. Okay. So let's import the on from the NgRx store. Okay. That's it. So here we are listening from the retrieved gallery, and here is a callback and state, and we are defining the new state. We are not modifying any existing state. So this is the response from the API, right? So this is invoked by the action method invoked by the our component and pushes its data into this property, and this property will be listened into the reducer store, and it will updating our store with the new store data. It is not modifying any existing data. That's why this is called pure function. Okay. And finally, let's export our gallery. For now, we can define like any and any. So we are simply exporting our reducer as a function. Okay. So we should export like this, because we will get, if we won't directly export this, we will get some compilation issues. That is why we need to create a function and return this gallery reducer. Okay. So that's all about the reducers. Okay. And next thing is we need to create NgRx store. We need to create a type of our state like an interface. Okay. That is for entire app. So app state.ts. Okay. So here I can define my app state type like, for now I am having only gallery light, like I will create a property, and it is array of data I am storing, right? Currently my reducer, right? So for that I have created one property like a grad. So like this you can create a number of stores, reducers and stores, and register them in this main root state. Okay. So I have registered my gallery reducer state type in the app state, application state. Okay. So after actions and reduces, so next last thing is main thing for our NGRX store is selectors. Okay. So what are selectors? Selectors are also pure functions used to obtaining the parts or slices of the store state. So selectors are meant for fetching the data from the store, like either full state or the slice of state or piece, or internally go, it can dig deeper into it and get the slice of data from the store very easily. So at the NGRX store provides two main selector methods like create selector and create future selector. Okay. The create selector can be used to select some data from the state based on several slices of the same state. So create selector means if you want to go to dig deeper, more and more deeper data can be easily fetched with the create stat selector. And there is one more feature like create future selector method for returning the top level state. So what this means, so create future selector state for, I have just created app state, right? So I can under it, I have what I did, I have registered gallery model directly. Instead of doing like this, I can create a separate state model. Export interface. Okay, and I can say gallery state, and here it can contain gallery. Okay, and here instead of registering gallery, I can register substate, means future state, like gallery state equal to gallery state. Like this I can do. So this kind of state module when we will use means if you are using module level like lazy loading, if you are dividing each into a separate module, okay, at that time we can create each store which is subfolders inside of it, and inside of it we can create a store. Like this we can create a number of state per module. So all those per module will be registered here. So this is like one future. So to get the data inside of this future very easily initially at that time. So let me revert all this. For the demo, there won't be any future modules. Okay. Create future selector will be is very easy to fetch the top level future states. So the create future selector is for selecting the state of the future models. Okay. So here I have given a sample for create selector. So here what it will do, state property means nothing but the main state. Something like, think like this is our gallery array. Okay. And next thing is there is will be a method in the create selector. Whatever model state here we are passing as a input, that will be the first parameter of this method. Okay. So first parameter I am passing gallery array means that will be the array will be picked from the state and passed as the input parameter here. Okay. Here finally what I am doing inside of payload, I am fetching the unique name. So set means new set means fetching the unique name. So from the array of collection, I am fetching the new names only that are too unique. So this is called some big deeper slice of data I am fetching using the create selector. So that is the beauty of the create selector. So create selector for fetching the slice of data that can be fetched from any length of heap of the state. Okay. So let's jump into creating some selector into our application. So let me create a selector like gallery selector.ts. Okay. So first let me import my create selector from the ng store. Okay. Create selector. Okay. First thing is I want to fetch the property root property of the app state. So it is directly assigned our model, right? No internal interface, right? So there is a simple way for fetching this top level variable, that is like go to selector and I can say like export constant gallery root selector. Okay, here I can write a anonymous like state app state. Okay, so this will return state dot gallery property. Okay, so I'm fetching the root property inside of the app state. So now I will create original selectors. Those are like export constant. So for my demo, okay, let's check our response model. So gallery model. Here we have album ID, and title and URL thumbnail, right? So our response, I want to do like a drop down that contains values of album IDs. Okay, when I change the album ID, I want to change the template of the rendered data related to only those album IDs. Okay, so for that, to bind the data into the dropdown, I want to fetch the unique album IDs from the response. Okay, so for that, I want to create a selector here. So what I will do, unique album IDs. Okay, create selector. Selector, first we need to pass the root state, that is gallery. Okay, next, like this you can pass up to 8 parent selectors. Okay, overloaded methods will be there. So here I am using first overloaded method with the single root state, and next parameter will be the callback function. So here whatever s1 I have passed here, if you hover here, it will show like some s1 I passed, right? So that s1 will be injected into this method as a first input parameter. Okay, so I can specify like gallery of gallery model types array. Okay, so here I can return the data from this method. So here what I can do, return here spread operator, using spread operator, new set. Okay, gallery map dot album ID. So what it will do, it will fetches the all the unique IDs, and it will return the and it will return unique album IDs. Okay, so that is my selector. So I am done with the selector as well, and I need to register the store module into the app module. Okay, so for that what I will do, go to app module. So inside of the app module imports, okay, I need to use for root, and here I need to register the our reducers with key value pay. Okay, so what I will do, I will name key like gallery, and what is the reducer? So my reducer name gallery reducers. So here I need to register it. So import the reducer as well. Okay. So we have successfully registered our store module in the startup, and let's create our component. Okay. So next, what we will do. So before creating components, let's create our service that going to fetches our API call. Okay. So gallery service.ts. Okay. Code class gallery service. Okay. At the rate injectable. Okay. Constructor. I want to use HTTP client. common/http. Okay, http client. Since we are registered http client, we need to import the http module into our app module. Okay, and it is imported on top. Now let's create our method like load gallery. Okay, return http get. Okay, copy our API and paste it here. Pipe import map from RxJS operators. Okay, that's our service. And let's register our service as well into the providers. So gallery service. Okay, that's so far so cool. Next thing, let's create our component. Okay, so before creating component, let me install some Bootstrap to add some styling to our website. So to install Bootstrap, I can run command like npm install Bootstrap. Okay, Bootstrap installed successfully. Let's cross verify in package.json. So you can see Bootstrap latest version 5 has been successfully installed. Okay. Now let's what I will do in app component.html. Let's replace this HTML with Bootstrap menu. So let me copy my code snippet for Bootstrap menu. Okay, this is my menu. And I forgot to mention that after installing the Bootstrap, we need to configure CSS and files in our Angular JSON file in the styles array and scripts array. Okay, so let me paste CSS file link from the ng modules. And next we need to add the script file as well. Okay, those are the Bootstrap changes we required. And we have already added our menu, right? And now let's create our component. So in gallery, let me create a component gallery dot component dot ts. Okay, and selector. Okay, selector gallery. Let me create HTML file as well for my component. Okay, so let's import that path as well. Okay, now into my constructor, let's first inject the store. Okay, and its type store. Okay, that loads from NgRx store. Now what I have to do means let me write on init because in on init I want to invoke my API. So implements init method. Okay, let's implement that method. Okay, so let me remove all these things and invoke my API call. So let's inject service as well to invoke the API call. So service is like gallery service. Okay. So Here I can specify this dot gallery service and load gallery dot subscribe dot data. Right. So on success, when we get the data. So here is the invocation of our on success of our API. We need to invoke what we need to invoke action method. So on receiving API, we need to invoke action method, right? So here I need to invoke my action method. So to invoke the action method, we have to write like this dot, okay, store dot dispatch, okay. So it will inside of it, I can write my action method, okay. So what is my action method? Go to gallery actions and my action name is retrieved. Okay, we need to pass all for all galleries property. See this method coming from our gallery actions property name. Okay, so component I can pass data as gallery model array. Okay, so this dispatch will raise us this event. Okay, so now on component load it will call API data and API is invoking the our action. This action will be listened into our reducer. Okay, so now we got the data right. So let's add drop down into our HTML file. Okay, album ID HTML file. Okay, gallery component HTML. Okay, I'm going to use some bootstrap stylings. Okay, container row hyphen justify content center. Okay, okay. So let me add some bootstrap styles to it. Okay, so let me add initial option like value equal to -1 and select gallery. So initially, if it is by default selected to gallery, then I want to display all the albums. Okay, all the album categories. Okay, and the remaining options I need to construct dynamically. So to construct them, I want to fetch the data from the store into my component. So to fetch the data from store into our component, we should have the selectors, right? So here what I will do, I can do like this dot store dot select. Okay. Inside of this select method, I can call my selectors, right? So what is the selector for fetching my uh, unique unique album IDs? Galleries selectors. Unique album ID, right? My selector name. So, so not select directly here. I need to use pipe. Okay. And here inside of it, I can use select. So this will loads from NgRx store. It gets imported here. Okay. So here I can specify like my selector name. Okay. Here we are getting error. Let's import the album ID as well. So our unique album ID store imported successfully, but still we are getting selected because it is unable to determine our store type. So what I have to do, I need to define my store type with the property name gallery and gallery model array. And it should be given in a anonymous object. Okay, our state object. This is nothing but our state object. Okay, so now it's our component state knows what it is. Now that error is gone. Okay, so actually it should not be here. For intelligence, I have written like this. Now where I have to do means I will create a variable, observable variable like album IDs. Okay. So this is the notation. Dollar will be prefixed that represent it is an observable variable and it will be assigned to it. Okay. In my HTML, my gallery component HTML, I need to bind the options. So options. Okay. Star ng for equal to. Okay. Let I of album. What is my variable name? So gallery component variable name is albums, right? And it is a variable of observable type. So in that case, what I have to do means we need to use a pipe and say async because it is an observable type, right? So I can specify value equal to I, and here I can bind I. Okay, so far so good. Okay, let's import our component into app module and let's run our sample. So here I can specify gallery component, and one more thing in app HTML, I need to render my gallery. So gallery component, its name matching or not. Okay, that's fine. Let's run our application. Okay, see, this is our output. If you click, so here I am getting data from the API. If you observe network calls and reload, we can see our API call here. So in that API, I'm getting all unique album IDs from the store. Okay, let me assign this content into the middle, this drop down. Okay, now I think it will be good. Okay, it is centered. And see, all our state uh, building blocks, what we have learned, are very helpful for interacting with the store. See, for storing the data into the store, we are using action. For retrieving the data, we are using selectors, right? So next thing is I want to bind all the data uh, from the store as a cards onto my UI. Okay. So now I want to fetch uh, on changing drop down. I want to fetch the albums based on that album ID. These are all album IDs. Okay, so I can say like gallery album ID. Okay, so to do that, first thing is we need to have one more selector for fetching all data. Okay, so let's go to our selectors. Okay, port constant. Okay, and all gallery by album ID. I want to fetch gallery by album ID. So I am going to use create selector function. Here also I can use gallery store selector. Here also I will get array of gallery. Okay, and here I need to fetch the slice of data based on the gallery ID. Okay, so if at all, so here I want to pass one input parameters. So previously there is a way to pass to pass input parameter selector. There is a way to pass in create selector itself, but that is deprecated now. So to pass some input parameter to it, we need to do some magic like gallery ID, album ID number. Okay, and it will return creator function. Like this we need to pass. So now I can use this album ID into this here. So if at all album ID equal to -1, then I want to return all the gallery. Okay, or else I want to filter the gallery. So return gallery filter by album ID equal to album ID. Okay, that is my new selector. Okay, so this selector is taking input parameter. Previous selector there is no input parameters. Directly we are fetching the data. Here we are filtering our data. Okay, so now I have prepared my selector to fetch the data from the store. Next thing is let's go to our component. Okay, so by default it should be for options I can do like ng model. I can like album selected ID. Okay, we'll create a variable here. Okay, -1 initial value, and let's create our cards as well to render the entire album data. Okay, so this is my bootstrap card styling. Okay, now I am going to render my data to this element. Okay, so for that first I need to load all my albums into my components. So to do that I need to create one more selector like all albums dollar observable this dot store dot pipe select. Okay, here I need to get the my new selector name, that is get album by ID. So go to our component and here let's import that namespace and pass our album selected. Think we are good. Let's see our data is rendering or not. Since the initial -1 means we will bind all the data. Okay, we haven't binded the data to the HTML. So here you can say ng for equal to let item of what is my new selector variable name in component all albums. Okay, so paste it over here and async. So let's item dot, let's go to our model, gallery model. I will use thumbline URL here. Okay, and here I want to bind title, item dot, what title is there. Okay, and for our understanding purpose, let's also bind the album ID. Item dot album ID. Since I am using ng module, right, I need to import the form module into my app component. So form module. Okay, and let's check any errors or compiling our project. Seems like good. Let's go to our application. See here. Unable to bind, I think, images. Let me check. Okay, string interpolation. I think now they will bind. See, now it is binding. And you can see album ID 1 and all the data. I think some thousands of records are there. All album IDs are I'm binding like a tiles, right? Now we need to work on this. Okay, so to do that, let's jump into work on selection. Okay, so now what I will do in component on album change. Okay, value number. Okay. What I will do, I will copy same line of code. Okay, dot this dot. Okay, now here I can pass the event number value, right? Now I need to register this on change event album. So that we can use ng module change and register our component method to this and pass the event value is nothing but the value. Okay, let's check now. Okay, now test by changing our gallery ID. Let me select 12. See, 12 album ID is selecting. Let me select like 18 and let me select the last one, 100th one, 100. So our store is working perfectly. Okay, so we are so far so good. Okay, so we have successfully completed our NgRx store state management process. Okay, and NgRx also provides one more feature is like effects. So what is effects? In a service-based Angular application, components are responsible for interacting with external resources, like directly through services. Okay, so Angular components will invoke the services. We have already did that one. Instead of invoking from component, effects provide us a way to interact with those services and isolate those from the components. So this effect component logic, what it will do means, instead of writing the service logic into our component, we can write that service logic into our effects. Okay, so that is the benefit or modification from the effects. So effects are where you handle the tasks such as fetching data, long running tasks, and produce multiple events. Other external components don't need to explicitly knowledge of this interaction. So from this we can reduce our component code very minimum, and it is very more testable because we can avoid all the logic related to the API calls that such are external things. Okay. So by inducing effects into our NgRx store, our flow looks like this. See, previously components directly interacted actions API, right? Now actions will invoke the effects and fetches the data from the API. Okay, so here uh, this component to API connection is breakdown and that is taken care by the effects. So here one more additional responsibility given to the action is actions can be listened by effects as well. Okay. So same way how component passes the data into the actions, same way effects also will passes the data into the action. Okay. So let's implement effects into our application. Okay. So effects also invoked by the actions, right? So first let me create a new action for my invoking the effect. Okay. So go to actions and let me create one more and I will name like invoke API, invoke gallery API. Okay, so create action. Here no input parameters will be there. What I will do, I simply gallery API invoke API. Okay, so this is my action method. Okay, so in our component, what we can do means we simply comment this entire code. Okay, this dot store dot dispatch. Okay, and I can simply call my new action method. What is my new action method? Invoke gallery API. Okay, that is imported. Okay, see, there is no code now. I simply invoke like this action from my component. Component invoke actions. Okay, now I need to, so this action is invoked, right? So this must be listened by the effect. Okay, so let's create the effects. So before creating effects, we have to install effects that is available as a separate library created by the NgRx only. Okay, go to ngrx.io and go to ngrx effects, go for installation steps and copy the command. Let's install it. So let me install effects as well. Okay, effects is installed successfully. Let's cross verify it in package.json. See NgRx effects. Okay, now what I will do in the store gallery.effects.ps. So effects are like I can create in gallery folder itself. Effects are like nothing but the services. So code class gallery effects. Okay, code class gallery effects and decorate with injectable. Okay. So inside constructor, I need to inject a type like actions. Okay. This loads from the effects. Okay. And also inject my service here. Private. What is my service? Gallery service. Gallery service. Let's import as well. Now here I can define my effect like load gallery. I need to use create effect method. Okay. Inside of it, I can write like this dot actions dot pipe, and inside of pipe I need to define of type that loads from NgRx effects of type, and here I can specify the name of the action. So what is my newly created action name? Gallery API action. We cannot use directly like this names, so we need to copy the names here. Okay. So what this means, this action will be executed for every action invoked from the component, but the next step will be executed only when this action method equal to this type only. Okay. So next step, what I am writing will only executed if this action type is this matches with this name. Okay. So next thing is, so once that observable is finalized, next I am merging. I will use merge map. Okay. That's loads from RxJS operator. And here I can call my gallery service. This dot gallery service load, and here I can write pipe, can use map operator from RxJS. Okay. Data. Here I need to pass name of my action. So if you recall our component previously, one success we are calling retrieved gallery, right? So here what we have to do means, here copy the name of retrieved gallery, paste here, and this object should be type. Okay, comma, and what is my action method payload property name? All gallery. Into data. That's it. Okay. So effects we cannot use actions that we have created. Okay, that we have created. So we need to use names like this only. Okay. So I think we are good. And now finally register our effect into the app module. Effect module. Okay, for root, and it will take array. That array is nothing but these services I need to register. So where app component I can pass and import it. That's it. We are done with the effects as well. So now component is independent of the API calls. Okay. Now if we run, project is running. See, I'm still getting the data. Let me reload the page again. See, so far no errors. Seems like no errors. See, my old functionality executing. But my component doesn't interact with the API. Everything is controlled by the effects. Okay, so that's how the structure of our store looks like when we integrate the effects. So that's it, guys. So I have completed the sample demo using the NgRx, including the effects as well. So I think this video has helpful for you. I think I have given some sufficient data to getting started with the NgRx store. So if you like my video, please do subscribe to my channel. We will meet you soon with the new videos. Until then, signing off.